I would like to remind all of ourselves to cultivate the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all kind mother sentient beings. With that kind of bodhichitta motivation or bodhisattva's attitude, that we should all participate in this teaching.
That
as I regularly remind all of ourselves, that it's very important for us to reflect upon the reasons why we need to cultivate or practice spirituality. In this regard, I would like to quote the words of great Indian Buddhist realized master scholar Acharya Chandrakirti in his supplement to the middle way, or called Madhyamik Avatar. He states, as Geshe quoted the lines from his memory, all sentient beings, without exception, are born from karmic actions. So just as Chandrakirti has said that different karmic actions have precipitated the lives of all sentient beings, or the rebirths of all sentient beings, in the same way, another great Indian Buddhist realized master scholar Acharya Vasubandhu in his Treasury of Knowledge, or Abhidhamma Kosh, states, again Geshe quoted the lines from his memory, that all the diverse world systems or environments are the products of karma. So Vasubandhu also tells us that we see this great diversity among sentient beings and the environments that we live in. But all of that diversity we see is the result or the product of different karmic actions. So what these great masters are telling us is this, that sentient beings and the environmental worlds that we live in are the result or the outcome of karma. Of course, they are not saying that there's only one sort of a single universal kind of a karma that has resulted in this great diversity that we have among ourselves. As a matter of fact, there are multitudes of karmic actions, but the karma itself is very diverse, multiple, if you will. So different karmas have resulted our rebirths and the worlds we live in.
So the let them show let them show rest. In the later Kadich Kasi, Mandano Kasi is not a thing. Give later, give less. Tell Lumatin less, you are the Lumatin Lake, Jebu, give me can't take you a
So if we go with that premise or the claim that sentient beings and the worlds we live in or they live in are the result or the outcome of karma, then what are the types of karma that we as sentient beings do create? Broadly stated, we talk about two types of karma. We talk about positive karmas or wholesome karmic actions, and we talk about the negative karmas or the unwholesome karmic actions. Of course, there are what we call neutral karmas, karmas which are neither positive nor negative, but we really kind of don't worry about that much because they neither produce good results nor produce bad results or negative results. So we are more sort of, if you will, concerned with positive and negative karmic actions and the positive and negative results that they produced.
That thing is ane juji senje da ane ada ante senje nesa ge ye ne jinje tin tinga ane pe lele tin shon yares.
So I want to emphasize that both the environments and inhabitants within, we call sentient beings, and the worlds we live in both are the result of karmic actions.
So that they tell you, senje shinti will less a shiki, senje she and sabi lake, Bodhichitta, around sources of Bodhichitta into Mijia.
Now, also we can look at karma in terms of two different aspects of the dimensions, if you like. There is what we call collective karma, and then there is individual karma.
So that pena re that nurturing thing the station nurturing zambiling the zambiling senji sola ten inducing she lila tene dishonores.
So now the world that we all share and we live in, this is, we say, a result or outcome of our collective karma.
What is that? Environment.
Well, the world means the environment we live in, which is the result of our collective karma. So we have this, if you will, world that we share, and which is the outcome of our collective karma. But then within this world, each of us are living in different environments or situations, if you will, which are outcomes of our individual karmas.
So the Tennessee Tonga matter, that Tennessee Penna, listen, that. Nursing you think like better, showing the prohibition to Sumba in there. Yeah, she can Chungu at the young Ransuki, Lake, nominating young, attending member charge Mabaton, Machabaton, Zombo, United Yoris.
So it's really important for us to understand, collective karma, individual karma, and how they produce different outcomes of the results. Now, it is very possible that there is, tragedy, in the world we live in, or the environment we live in, but we as individuals may not necessarily are affected by that tragedy. Okay, so which are due to one's own individual karmas. So it is possible that in the environment, tragedies do happen, but for some, as we can see, that not all individuals in the environment necessarily are affected by the tragedies or experience tragedies.
That been Patong Yabin goes some Lamina, and a Cholo Johnny, Chi and his society. Nikan's Torre and Vendetta. Tagana Yake, he made Sigwada. Tagana Yake, he lung Torre Trishani, and then she China Kanga do something, change chamber showing in. Yeah, Kansa Susu desert the Bay Shan Zang Navation Day, David was. They as how going to us.
So I think if, we look. I think we can find a number of situations to illustrate the points that I'm trying to make here. That in this world we do see all kinds of natural calamities, because of these tremendous floodings. A lot of people, suffer. But given that, then there are, individuals or people who are not really affected by such tragedies. Somehow they escape the whole situation. Or due to brush fire, so many houses get burned down and destroyed, but for some reason somebody's house is just standing fine and it's not really affected. Okay? Or because of tornadoes, houses are completely blown out, right? But for some reason some houses are just standing there almost out of blue. So all these situations we see are as a matter of fact, related to, as we say, collective and individual karmas. So each of us create and accumulate different karmas, and these karmas produce different results, and we as individuals experience the outcomes of our karmas. So, personally speaking, an environment or a situation in which one finds oneself in or live in, that is related to one's own individual karma.
So, that pen, the teaching that category. The Kalikam Chagger, what happened is Category.
No, Benjo.
Benjo Tola.
No.
Benjo the Kalikam Chagger, more Chagger in a side, Kakia, Kangitan, maybe maybe taller. She young Howard was.
So at the present, we as collective, if you will, are caught up in this tremendous financial crisis, right? Unprecedented financial crisis that has happened in our country. But given that, but there are, many people who do not seem to be affected by it.
The Hinyomu, I think, because the Garan Hama, the Garan Sini, they took it down, Sentim Gushi, Lewis.
So there are many people, like, whose businesses are going as fine or even better, and it seems like this financial crisis doesn't affect their business and their standards of living. So we do observe, such differences among ourselves, even though we collectively, in some way, are dealing with the financial crisis.
Ngi tanda kyuba tizo tanda susu sakpe le susu nyonga te sebo was.
So the point I'm trying to make here, I think I hope it's clear to you that it's because of individual karmas, we also go through individual results and experiences of our karmas. And which are not necessarily shared by other people or others in the environment. But then we also have collective karmas, to an extent we all may share the outcome of that karma.
Sanjay Chomdin deke ane le maje pata metres doran sonyoris.
Our historical teacher Shakyamuni Buddha himself stated it very clearly in sutras when he talked about the different aspects of the dimensions of karma, that if you do not create and accumulate karma, you are not going to experience it or their results. Okay, so if you don't create karma, you don't have to worry about, or even you can hope to experience the result of that karma.
Lendi ke nangyan du san tang bin na, mune tone pe ko lakwen na tem na melon na sha na yin so di tongji do was.
So, in some sense, as we can observe that, karma is, the karmic result seems to be quite concrete. It's almost like we have things put on the palm of our hand, kind of clear cut, that if you do not create karmas, there's nothing really to get confused with that. You are never going to experience the results of those karmas you don't create.
So, ngaran so, dibu de jibu de chamalo rang ge le gawasa ne.
So because karma is so important and this is what is really affecting our life, so we often talk about, as I emphasize this point, that to have good, so we have to create good karmas. Okay, if you don't want bad, do not create the bad karmas.
Me yen la mayu na rang yung go yat gare sa rang so sa pe le rang so yimba da ko ko.
So based upon our own personal life experiences, that at times that other people seem to be fine, but we as individuals are affected by negative situations. So it's like everybody seems to be fine, but I'm in really problematic situation. Why? Because these are the outcomes of one's own karmic actions. This is what we need to recognize and understand. So I think it's in this regard, cultivating or practicing spirituality is very important, in our life.
Le gavashin David Devan Junguyori. Le Migavashin and David Dungan, Chetsati, Narazo Chudre at the Gidig Palanching, that Pango, Papang, so long with the Andusing the Palanchi at the case of each other.
So as we talk about cultivating or practicing spirituality, what really it is, about is through spiritual spiritual education or Dharma education, if you will, that we learn about what are the positive actions that we should accumulate or we should create and accumulate, and what are the negative actions that we must not do, that we should abandon. So based on our education of Dharma or spirituality, then we learn about how to conduct our lives according to the Dharma principles, if you will. So because we want all the good things happen to us, so therefore we need to create and accumulate positive actions. So that's part of our Dharma practice, if you will. Because we do not want any negative outcomes or problematic situations, we must not do the negative karmic actions, which is also part of our Dharma cultivation or practicing Dharma. All our experiences and outcomes are, direct results of the kind of karmas that we create and accumulate. We cannot somehow think that, I have nothing to do with karma, and I really don't need to do the good things, but then still I could have good results. No, that's just impossible. Okay, to have positive outcomes, we need to create positive karmic actions, and so everything is related to our good and bad karmas. Now, the karmic actions that we create are not only related to our experiences of this lifetime, both good and bad, but also what we will experience in our future lives. If we would like to have fortunate rebirths, such as the one we have now, precious human rebirth, then we have to create positive karmas. If we would like to have to be born as a divine beings, as we say, celestial beings, or devas and devis, then we do need to create positive karmic actions. As great Indian realized sage scholar Acharya Nagarjuna has stated clearly, and Geshe quoted the lines from his memory, that happiness and peace and all these good things arise from positive karmic actions, whereas the unhappiness and the problems and all such things arise from negative karmic actions. And so if we would like to have, if we do not want, let's say, we do not want to be reborn in any unfortunate states in the future, such as hell, hungry ghosts, and lesser animal world, then we should not create negative karmas, according to Nagarjuna.
And so that may give later, Kandikina something, Hegurmato, late Megil lake, Kandikimi, Hamagonate, and so in order to stop creating negative karmas or to abandon negative karmas, of course, first we have to educate ourselves about the karmas. If we have no idea what negativity means, what negative karma is, or what negative karmas are, well, then forget about, how to say, stopping negativities or abandoning negativities, because we are just clueless. Tati, Naranj Mambo here Taris, Mambo Koram Suchranzo, Mambo Koyages. Yena Lale Mata and that news Debina, and then Naranzo Tendaski Manduas.
So we have talked about this so many times, and you have heard about this 100 times or more. But then in this case, like if we know something about these karmas, it is very important and essential actually for us to apply the teaching to ourselves or to follow the teachings. But if we never follow the karmic principles, well, then nothing is really going to change, or nothing. Then we can't expect good things happen.
Mambo yorta tin mege yorta tin nai that le labour some tambina rang luta nga ta yisumbuti seji gel neji kunjul mevazo never see a ta then it is some tang ta le shake duna that mege chagu.
Negative karmas are just innumerable, but we often talk about 10 what we call negativities of body, speech, and mind. But in a very sort of a simple, to put it very simply, when we talk about negative karma or negativity, what we really mean is if our actions of body, speech, and mind, these three actions we can do, hurt or harm others, so such actions are to be understood as negativity or negative karmic actions.
Never
So if we harm others physically, verbally, mentally, all of the above, then as a result of these harmful actions, which are negative actions, we will experience negative outcomes or the results in the form of suffering, problems, and in the form of unfortunate rebirths, in the form of finding ourselves in a very difficult environments and situations.
Tati loso ranke ane lu tang nga tang yisubute ti ane pekyo tang ne yena pen togdo na yena yen gabo to yume keche kegyo amare yena pe pen to kembo yungu do na tate gewe le chago jeta ran le dewan jungure.
On the other hand, if our actions of body, speech, and mind are really truly beneficial to others, then these actions are positive karmas, and this will bring positive outcomes. So when we say that actions truly benefiting others, it doesn't necessarily mean that we try to do everything that pleases others. Pleasing others may not necessarily be beneficial or even positive. Yeah? But actions which are truly and beneficial to others are positive actions, and we get positive outcomes out of them.
That tende shombina, and that was yele pe ninji sieta, and he senji dunganangil ninji sieta, and umpongi tende tondi tanzil and pe and Shambasin, the Kuzu Deva de Denham Kimarunaba, the leg same shit of a tongue about the younger Drishabina.
So if we truly want to benefit others, I think what follows from that kind of a wish that we have is that we would like to cultivate love and compassion for other beings. As we see others in difficult situations and in suffering situations, we truly wish them to be out of such suffering, such situation, to be free from suffering, which is called compassion. As we see people in a difficult situation, poor and needy, we truly wish them to find, resources, and wish them the best of everything. That kind of wishing is called love. So this is how, we are able to cultivate such positive states of mind, love and compassion to and for others.
That tendeke hingi ta shamba nimbote hingi de shamba nimbote ane senje thamji le mipe shore zam mahimpe senje thamji le mipe yina that tiba chimbi chundoge.
So now if we expand, if you will, the scope of this love and compassion to include every sentient being. So basically, we are not biased towards any particular beings or category of beings. We would like to treat everybody equally, and we wish everybody to be free from suffering, which is a great compassion. And we wish everybody to be happy, to be endowed with peace and happiness, which is great love. So this is how we are able to cultivate Mahakaruna, great compassion, and Mahametri, great love.
Ralan should never think it, and never think it, ya. We should just never think it, they rank, they miscarne. The Trebe and this here Tamhill maybe Nigitan Shambashit never some Congress.
So as we cultivate great love and great compassion, maybe we need to focus especially on those beings who we have who are very challenging. In other words, that there are beings who are unkind to us and who are maybe nasty and troublemakers, so we really have to pay a special attention to them, and we have to include them in our compassion. We also want to make sure that we wish them also to be free of suffering. But that is a challenging part, So with that special attention and effort, then we wish everybody else also to be free from problematic situations, which is called great compassion. In the same way, these unkind, nasty, beings we pay special attention to them, that wishing them to be happy, to find the real happiness that they are seeking. With that special attention and focus, we also try to wish everybody else to be, happy. So this is how we cultivate great love.
maybe shuri bango hira kechamber. Kanga jigba mata sano mata vase. Ane shuri chabendati, ane Niji Shiatan, Chamba Shiatan, and you take commercial as a Pachi Chambuchagers.
So we really do need to work with our mind and counteract our biases, biased attitudes, prejudices, discriminations, and all of that. So if we do hold, biased attitudes towards certain people or beings, then it is really impossible to cultivate great love and great compassion to and for everybody else, because we need to transcend, if you will, our biased attitudes, our prejudices, and our discriminatory attitudes to respect and treat everybody equally.
That pen pen of saying us, Roland the Chachuk Chamberna, the Chati any round Nevatan, and then rang short in Z, rang short in Zin, the Jacon short in Z. That thing that yen the pay Yankee Challenger, says the same young to you, Mary. Just then the chat, Hitake Shuri Pangbala, and then the chat, Hugh Chamber, Mavachin, the chat mango near Hirak Chambers.
Let me give you a specific example here. When we talk about biased attitudes or states of mind, let's talk about attachment, in Tibetan called Dorjee. So when we are influenced by attachment, or we let ourselves being influenced by it, then what we find ourselves doing is, we are already dividing people or the beings into categories. These are the dear and near ones, and and then these are not dear and near, because these are the other, group there. So we already made the categories here, what we might call in-group and out-group, right? The people who belong to your group and people who belong to somebody else's group. So this kind of division on categories, and then being attached to the ones we call my group members, or whatever labels we use, it doesn't matter. So we are attached to them and we do everything possible for them, whereas we discriminate against these others who belong to the out group or this other group. See, so with this kind of division and biased attitudes, with attachment, we cannot love everybody equally. We cannot have equal compassion for everybody. So attachment, for example, is an obstacle. We need to counteract it. We need to overcome its intensity, and we need to get rid of it.
That control the young, I get that the charity. Carry the control, shown Zin any dull down. That dull down was at the control one sugar.
So then we also have anger, another state of mind which is very destructive. So when we have anger, what happens? We direct anger to those we do not like, or we might call my enemies, or those others. And so we have those others, then we have these people on my side. So we already make camps here, my side of the people and that side of the people, and then we have hostility and anger directed towards them. So with this kind of biased attitude, state of mind, again, we cannot respect everybody equally and love everybody equally and have equal compassion for all.
The check one Chapaya Mashe, and they control one Dhamma and Mashe Center, by messaging to the time, Yawan doing.
So when our mind, is influenced by these what we call delusions or the negative attitudes, attachment to the dear and near ones, anger and hostility towards enemies and the people we don't like, then what happens in between? Then there are those who are neither our friends nor our enemies. Let's call them strangers or the neutral beings. well, we don't care about them. Okay, so we just complain like, okay, whatever, you don't belong to any group, or and so this is how we abandon them, see, altogether.
So that senje tanje le mepe nije ta shamba chembo nije chembo the shamba chembo shele ka ke chi yu kare sana senje tanje le mepe tanyu lo she ke chembo rendo was.
So as we see how these negative attitudes bias our relationship with other beings and how we perceive them and how we treat them. So in order to cultivate great love and great compassion, for example, we need to first train our mind and cultivate what we call balanced state of mind, or sense of equanimity, okay? Or even-mindedness. We need to even out our mind, just get rid of those biases. So once we have that even-mindedness or balanced state of mind, then it is easy for us to cultivate great love and great compassion for others. So what I want to say is that I started off today that law of karma, and its relevance to us personally, these are really important things that we should really reflect upon and follow the karmic principles accordingly.
No, that is all. And then that senjil me that shuri senjil semyon baji tanyum de tanyum go senjil thamjil maybe tanyum go lo she at hira kichimchi.
And then another important one I made is that we need to cultivate a sense of equanimity or balanced state of mind so that we are able to overcome our biased attitudes towards sentient beings, so that we're able to treat them equally.
Surig rang jules sengelami surig lochi yena ane hiji chemota shamba chembushi agle kekje do was de ha cosmos.
The reason is that if we hold any biased attitudes towards sentient being, just like I was explaining to you, due to attachment, due to anger, and other negative attitudes, when we divide people and beings into groups and categories and camps, and then we treat them differently, then there's no way for us to experience, to cultivate great love and great compassion.
That ring the anything and that cousin Tenzin you mean nothing around someone who pay attention to it. Chitang Mambu Koyer, the attention to yes.
So I know, you have most of you have heard these things many times before, but I'm just kind of I talk about them more as a reminder of things that we really need to reflect upon.
Lamrugan Tabakanang was Church Shepherds and Mendy Church Language. Take Hira Kachamber and Samalong around to being around Samalola, Kachamber in the West.
As it is very unambiguously stated in the Lamrim treatises, that it is not enough to know Dharma, but we must put into practice. Lamrim just kind of nails that into our brain, and this is what we're talking about. Yes, we need to educate ourselves about Dharma, because without knowledge, we are just in ignorance. But once we know it, that's not the goal, that's not enough. But now we need to apply the knowledge, or we need to put the knowledge into practice.
That church, Lamrim Chambers Maris, church shepherds and Jigmari, church Yamson language, Kanayate. Daja Tamba Hedges of and Gomboluduni, Papa Tomis in Marsh and Rembe, and Takona Zoxungaris, then around to pay Lazi Chimuchiri, that's judgment do it.
And I just quoted Lamrim to make the point that it's not enough to know Dharma or Dharma principles, but we must apply them to our life, or we must integrate them into our life. We must cultivate them or practice them. So put them in action. Okay, this is not something just the Lamrim says. Of course, if we look through all the teachings from historical teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. That's what he said. And what did Nagarjuna say? He said, yes, put the teaching into practice. What did other masters say? Same message. Everybody said that Dharma knowledge needs to be put into practice. So application or the practice, cultivation is the most important thing once we learn about Dharma. So did you find time to reflect upon the things we talked about last week? For example, so we learned that even though we are very fortunate to have found this human life, but don't think this is our permanent address, because this life will snap one day. There's nothing mystery about that. And so just to make a permanent home here is an illusion. So don't do that. So what's wrong if we say, this is my permanent home and address? I'm a human being and this is my, permanent home and address. But what's wrong with that is then we have this grasping at permanence of life and things, you see. So when we have that grasping, then what it really does, it always makes us to plan everything to live. You see, we never think about anything else, because everything leads to the same thing. I will be here forever, and therefore I need this, I need that. Just every action planning has just to do with this life. Okay? And then after all, this life is not permanent.
That thing I think ane pungbola rang pungbodele ane heni chaju Americana sons.
And then another thing we learned was that we must not cling to or get attached to our body or our aggregates.
Ante juma nang gere chai me karasana juma king juma sheba nang chi chag yores. Course so trudne yam pa meba call lansan right. So
the reason why we must not get attached too much to our body is because our body is just like a magical creation. Okay? Just as a magician uses different things to create his magic, and then he can dissolve the magic, and the show is over. In the same way, this body, has come into existence due to its causes and conditions. But then there will be other causes and conditions which will, if you will dissolve this body, this body will end at a certain point of time. And so it's exactly like a magical creation. It has a duration, it's not a fixed and permanent. So therefore we must not get attached to our body. So when we say don't get attached to the body, of course we are not saying don't take care of your health or body. We're not saying that. But getting attached to the body is a negativity, is a delusion. And out of that attachment, what also happens is we solidify our self-grasping, grasping at the independent self or inherently existent self, which doesn't exist anyway, but we do grasp at it. And then due to self-grasping, we find ourselves involved in many other negativities. So this is how we get caught up in a vicious cycle here. We don't see a way out, but we are just kind of caught up in the quagmire. Remember the Master said that nothing exists in and of itself. When we think about phenomena, phenomena by definition means something that exists. Okay? If something doesn't exist, then we don't worry about that. But everything that exists does not exist objectively from its own side or in and of itself. Okay? And so that kind of existence is not there, which is called inherent existence or objective existence. So including self, including ourselves, nothing in the world exists in and of itself. And then we talked about how we should cultivate compassion and love for sentient beings based upon the fact that they have not yet realized emptiness. Okay? So sentient beings have not yet realized emptiness as it is, so we use this as a ground or a reason to cultivate love and compassion for them. So how is this emptiness related to, or realization of the emptiness related to cultivating love and compassion? The reason why sentient beings are trapped in samsara, single existence, and going through round and round in samsara with all kinds of multitude of suffering, it's just precisely because they have not realized emptiness as it is. Because that realization will show the way out of samsara. And because of not having realized emptiness, so sentient beings are caught up in ignorance about the ultimate nature of phenomena, and being influenced by delusions, we create negative karmic actions, and which trap us again in samsara. So with this kind of perspective on the situation in which sentient beings find themselves in, then we wish how nice it would be if sentient beings are free of their ignorance or realize emptiness and get out of samsara and suffering. So we wish them to be free from suffering and its causes, which is the compassionate feeling.
No, that. Any time I did this sounds like I say, show it in your cousin, sit on them. A chair do great, chair do balata, you don't shake it, to shoot up a cigarette. That you might kill the chair do yam, the end, and you might use some madubas. Young don't take you doing, young don't get kaki you give it. The next job, but choose it. Choose the truth, Jews and that cook, Tawa Jugrovas, when the Juki in a Juki, until 19, it's only choose tango race.
Then we have learned that we need to develop courage and enthusiastic perseverance in cultivating our Dharma, doing our practice. So which really means is that we shouldn't get too overly excited and enthusiastic to practice for a day, and then we drop the practice for the next few days, and then we will pick up a day to do that again. Or that, for a week, we are so enthusiastic in our practice, for the next 2 weeks it's dropped out of sight, and then we somehow pick it up. Not so inconsistent like that. Just like we say, if you watch the brook or the river flowing, it flows very quietly and consistently. See? So we need to cultivate enthusiastic perseverance. We call Chuntu in Tibetan, just like the flow of the river. It just continues. There is no interruptions, in between. No kind of sort of breakups in between.
No, that ring is Sabbath day. Geshe Kara Gomchung, Shengre Shensana, Judge Temba, Geshe Zungchi. Give him a Shusha base. And Anas Judge Temba, he zooms here to Gane, Geshe Karapalia, and treaty Naronasia Huyas.
So that was what Geshe Ben Kunjin had to say last time, right? Now we have another Kadampa Geshe by the name of Geshe Kara Gomchen. He was asked a question by another
Gyeltsen Tenpa Yike Kara Gomchen Pashuber.
Okay. Let me do it again. Geshe Tsultim Gyeltsen, another master, so he was having this conversation, telling this to Kara Gomchen. So he said, it is so wonderful and fortunate for me to be able to meet you, so I would like to ask for a teaching.
Geshe Karabe Hene said that thing the race over that. Take a race on any conga and a church do at the church digital and the Manda soon tell some your race canam.
So Geshe Kara Gomchen said, all right, okay, I'll do that. But here are three things that I want to talk about in terms of practicing Dharma.
Church that should be tapped the Lucian Peshmena, Rambasum dos, your race can.
So there are three what we call things involved, we call method of practicing Dharma.
That Rambita Sungan and that Ali Tamadi Choranga. Tamatamatumasup Karishagurasana, Sangila never Monsieur race that came.
So I think basically Geshe Kara Gomchen said there are three different ways of practicing, which would relate to three different levels of practice, if you will. And he said, okay, let me talk about the most basic one. If you can't do much, anything else, that's almost the assumption. There is the assumption, actually not almost. Then he said, try not to hurt anyone. Don't harm anyone. So I think we need to really keep this in our mind.
Gom Jake, would you Pamatuna? Oh, Tang is Hinji Kanajin, I tell it, never machine somebody tang, Shokaya, Lamban is on the Tangni. That thing we need to take toll and what Jekund was. This is not what is.
So in our case, we see that, okay, I don't have much time, I can't do meditation, I can't do retreat, I can't do this, so I don't have much time to all of those things. Well then, in which case, at least we say in the morning we get up, rise up from the bed, we make a commitment that today I'm not going to do anything, say anything, think anything that is harmful and hurtful to others.
That never misses it. Never misses it.
No. So, basically means, we rise up in the morning and we tell ourselves, I'm going to see that my actions of body, spirit, and mind do not bring harm to others today. So this is, this is how we begin our day.
That day, the latest Shabin, and then that Chuba Tamatic some legumes.
So if you do that, according to Kara Gomchen, he said, well, you just, have fulfilled the least qualification of being a Dharma, Dharma person, practitioner.
And they are that Hidaki, somebody mato, Hidaki Chuck Chimbo, that Kachimbo Chagger.
So I think that this is, it itself is a very important message, or lesson for us.
The Jaram Taban Rekanang, Mamma Sunke Kanle, Churas Payment Drumas never tried to mash ask Kanang, they done the lake, someone looked at Dajakam Hedge Tabane, Zonte. I gave you that someone of those Kana and the Hakibaris.
So that's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama, often remind us during his public teachings or, audience that he said, if you can't help others, please don't harm others.
No,
so it comes to the same point here. This is what Shakyamuni Buddha has got to say to us. This is what other great masters have got to say to us. He said, if you can help others, great, do that. Even if you can't help others, but don't harm them.
All right. That they told us. That daily lots is that shade is chasing, Chushu, Ringboodness, Dan rings the shame. Singing Pendo, but you insect that. Never Machine some Majibe. They told that Pento Shabbat, that Shabina, never Mashiba Yashin. They told that Pentag in somebody rang singing, never Mashiba told Pentag in somebody, that sound of Hukum Tani, shout the Hubaina. So as I said, Kara Gomchen, he said there are three ways to practice Dharma, and as these three ways relate to three different levels. So what he just first said is the very basic one.
right? We can't do anything else. But at least, we, make a commitment that we are not going to do anything that brings harm to others. But then the next level, which is higher level, called intermediate level, if you will, is that, not only do we commit ourselves not to harm others, but we also develop this strong motivation to bring benefits to others. And with that motivation, we also try through actions to benefit others. So if we do that, then we are like at the intermediate level practice, or a practitioner of or at the intermediate level.
That's the pendo condition, pendo condition, and that there is Benas. Shaggy about Zogina, Jiso, Pashi to the doing over ye gone any pen, senior pentanangular.
So then how do we benefit others? If this is where we want to be at this level, or this is the way we want to follow to benefit others. In the case of Bodhisattvas, they benefit sentient beings through what we call the actions of 6 parameters or perfections, right, from generosity to the wisdom. And then there is what we call 4 points of gathering and measuring the minds of sentient beings. Again, a whole mouthful for a translator to say it. So through those methods, the 6 perfections and the 4 points, let me simplify it, otherwise I will be...
That Tambo did it. That penna again, the Pashi to you. In a singular, Tambo and the pen dog, she had to go Jibatani. Jimba the church, Sansa Jimba church, Jimba the little Tony, Shabina, singular Pendosia.
So, of course, we, can't go into every thing we just said here, but let's say in the case of generosity or giving, dan, practice, we could, give material gifts, which, or we can give, make the gift of Dharma. So through these different gifts, if you will, giving, that we are able to benefit others.
Jimba Tang says, Kimbo the Lissan Tong Yama, Tong Gayama, Timbo Tang Tuno Yamoret, Matuna, Kagan Lugan, Kagan Lugan in prison, Sungwa, in a Bena, Tobakile, say, come, yes, that's say, Lucy that. Say that's the Tang being that is Jimba Chagur, Yamba Yamu Chagurs.
So when we talk about giving, of course we have a lot of things to give, or, that's great. But, don't kind of get bogged down in one's mind and, I have nothing to give, really. I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have many things to give. No, the giving has to do with really letting go, as we say, that, if we see a really hungry person, let's say, and you just have a mouthful of food to share with, but if you truly out of a generous mind give it, right, share that, it's just a mouthful. In terms of amount, there was nothing in it, but that is a true giving. Okay, so in a sense, we do not necessarily have to have a lot of resources to be able to practice the perfection of giving. So, of course, when you talk about practicing giving, it is giving to others. Now, the others are not just human beings. Of course, we can give to humans, but others also include animals and other beings.
Yeah, Shanda, then is Henry Toba, tell any pay, say that's the Dakora, social any Palakim, Mane, this social Mazeb, Tetana, Yari, so Zagu and attending Tessaji, those who shake at the Jabin and Chiraki, Yabuchagres.
Well, if you see like hungry birds or animals, something like that, and you have a piece of a bread, well, the best thing is if you can give the whole thing, right? That's wonderful. But you say, no, I need to eat too. Okay, then just break a piece out of it, and that could be half or quarter or whatever piece of the bread, and you give it to the needy birds or the animals. And so that is a giving. That's a practice of generosity.
Oh, that's say Gobala, say, Gobala, go. That and they any that Jimbatan Mambuya was state church Jimbatan.
So we, could give food and drinks to those who need food and drinks. We could give clothes to those who need clothes, and so these are all, different ways of helping others. Then, of course, we can make the gift of Dharma.
Then this and pay that on truly pie children them hinging and the nigger and pay givers. Pay in the child me over said, she took a tuna and then him promotes childers.
We are talking about what is called the 4 points of gathering and measuring the minds of sentient beings, right? Because it's called Duengobushi in Tibetan. And how nice to have such a short version. Having to repeat like 2 long sentences 100 times is quite a challenge. But anyway, that's my problem, I guess. So through giving, we gather people, right? When you help others generously, people are attracted to you and they listen to you. Okay, so this is how Bodhisattvas use generosity as a way to get people, close by and benefit them. The second point is called Nyembar, which literally means, speaking pleasantly, pleasant speech, if you will. And what really this means is, once you have the attention of the people, you have generously benefited them, now they are really attentive to you, so then you can share Dharma, okay, especially the benefits of the Dharma, right? People who are clueless about Dharma. So if you can tell about the importance and the benefits of the Dharma, and if they develop interest in Dharma, so this is what we call speaking pleasantly, and Nyembar. This is how you benefit them as well. So you're really not giving Dharma teaching per se, but you are sharing the benefits of Dharma. You say, what are the advantages of taking interest and practicing Dharma? And if they get inspired and they get interested, this is what we're talking about. So then the next third point, we're talking about the 4 points here, is Dönjeba means now you really guide them, if you could, spiritually, or you really, this is where, so you could give, teachings. So now the fourth point is, as we say, whatever you, share with others, this is what you should also be practicing. So as you would say, practice what you preach. Just can't go on telling others to do this and that, and then oneself excuses from the whole thing. So it's like, just as you tell others, these are the important things to do, so then this is what you should be doing, or we should be doing.
So that and they pen those at the pen do
So these are also different ways of benefiting others or sentient beings.
Say
So that's why when you go through the sort of so to speak, the laundry list, benefiting others through giving, it's just like, give food to those who need the food, give shelter to those who need the shelter, give clothes to those who don't have clothes, and so on.
That's it. That chuba rub that and then the Ganzuki at the chuba drink Kediorva. That chushu rubness, that chushu rubness, datans. Senji Mimi Bashewa maybe 10 companies. That chuba rub is the term going Garesana, Aneta, Tomani, Ranta Yens, and Nipe Rangi Chuba member, and those years meant the Toby Patabas and Mato, who Rangun Chuba and Mavic and Tangres.
So that's about what we call intermediate level practice on how to be a practitioner at that level. that not only do we commit ourselves not to hurt or harm others, but we generate strong motivation to benefit others in every possible way, and then we try to put that into action. Now, the one more level of that, if you want, which we may call it advanced level, according to Kara Komchen, is the best kind of practitioners, Choba Rab, the best and the brightest here. Is really reflect on or meditate on the emptiness, nature of both self and others. And so basically, that both self and others and everything that exists is empty of inherent existence. So things are merely existent. They exist as mere labels, as we would say. That's all there is to it. Who we are and who everybody else is and what everything else is, it's just a mere label. There is no real inherent substance in any of us. So this is how the best practitioners, they reflect on and meditate on the emptiness of inherent existence.
No. That then lack by then lack by that thing. In the Zeta in Segina, and it's actually the same government, and you said you ship. Don't want you jump my bits. Don't want you jump my bit. And they send you the same gone, and it around you ceremony and you ship it. Tell something in the top. So then if you want to be the best among the best, so to speak, in these practitioners, then we need to, cultivate cultivate bodhicitta, which is the altruistic state of mind seeking enlightenment for the sake of everybody else. And so we integrate bodhicitta with the wisdom realizing emptiness, and this is how we become the best of the best practitioners. That's and you just said what you going around the Chevy in the Tangi, Tangosum, Tamani, Sengela, never Machine, the Achan, and the Sengela 2000 Sengel, and you say, couldn't Sengel Pember Drea, 2 toes me, Shangi.
So once we have bodhicitta or bodhisattva's attitude, because bodhisattvas care about sentient beings, and that's all there is, they do. And so with that bodhisattva's attitude, the first two things that we talk about, the basic thing, not hurting others, that automatically comes, right? If you have bodhicitta, you care about sentient beings, you're not going to hurt them. And because of your caring attitude, you want to benefit sentient beings in every possible way. So the two things we talk about at the basic and intermediate level are, they come just automatically as we cultivate bodhicitta.
That day, there's a mazet, Sanju Serbo Ranju Shebe, and Senji Sanji Gogundu. Sanji Salan Gobala, and the Paket Bango, Del Bamba Shola, Tony to be here and you shave Gundu Santa, Tony to be Ranju, here and you shave, tell it that Jamba Shuk, Nangu.
So once, we generate bodhicitta, right, we say that I want to become an enlightened being for the sake of all sentient beings. So in order to be an enlightened being, I need to get rid of the two mental obscurations. Obscuration to liberation called delusions, and obscuration to omniscient wisdom. And I need to get rid of these things. So to get rid of these two mental obscurations, I need to integrate bodhicitta with the wisdom realizing emptiness as it is. So through this integrated method, then I can become a Buddha, just as I would like to be for the benefit of everybody else. And this is how you really, augment your spiritual development and practice. And that's where we're going to stop today. So once again, I just want to remind all of ourselves to reflect on these three ways of benefiting sentient beings, or three levels of practice that Kara Komchen wants us to learn about. The basic one, not to hurt anyone. The intermediate one, additionally, to think of benefiting others. And at advanced level, we meditate on the emptiness of both self and others. I have some prayer requests. Two people have passed away. Mary Ann Taylor, and I hope I'm reading this right, Leo Nitra, and John Rinko is dealing with health issue. So prayers are requested for them.
That entering choking around the lake, the church should be gave all a tenny, and then Sanji Temper in the never show. Joey, you know, but survey, then the shape of Taman to put a cabin temper, two jingles that maybe no do you. And then church don't get show Pomona, Chundi Shawana into the Lubata. You think you come to the end of Matibi Gusuta, the Henny, Twinji Lusuta, that maybe no do you want.
Let's dedicate our collective marriage for the flourishing of Dharma, the source of benefits and happiness throughout the universe. May His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all other holy masters, wherever they are in any part of the universe, live long and be successful in fulfilling their visions benefiting sentient beings. May spiritual communities throughout the world and spiritual practitioners from all traditions remain healthy, harmonious, and be successful in fulfilling their spiritual aspirations. May this and other world environments be free of all kinds of unwanted pains and problems, and beings find peace, happiness, prosperity, and spirituality.
Last
but not least, we dedicate our collective marriage for all kind mother sentient beings to be free from the fears and dangers of two types of mental obscuration, and may we all become Buddhas soon.
ye be je shu ye me to cham re re le ye ni de je bo de san ye jin do me de bo ye ro ku nam do kin lo she bo so e dam guru re na me ra la ni ya da ya me